Hey everyone, this is Tim here at Instacluster. Welcome to yet another episode of Instablinks. Today we are covering the age-old topic of insourcing versus outsourcing and the pros and cons of both approaches and when to start thinking about deploying insourcing and outsourcing in your organization. To help us get us there, we are speaking with Instacluster's Global VP of Consulting and Enablement Services, Anil. Anil, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Now, Anil, you're a man with a lot of background and experience across different industries and technologies. So maybe to start us off with, would you mind giving us a bit of a background as to your career to date and your experience working with open source tech?
Sure. So I have been in data and analytics for over 20 years now. Okay, started with I don't know if you remember data warehousing and MDM and business intelligence, ETL, all the database technologies, proprietary like Informix and Oracle, DB2, and later on in my life, okay, I got introduced to open source technologies like Hadoop, and since then I have joined Instacluster, where our motto is we are the 100% open source operators of data technologies like Cassandra, Kafka, Redis, Postgres. So for the last 2.5 years, okay, I have been working with these technologies and trying to solve business solutions for our clients. So that's kind of my background so far. At Instacluster Consulting, we enable like full life cycle support from strategy to architecture to development to implementation, training, and support and manage platform as you all know. Consulting helps us kind of differentiate. Okay, at Instacluster, consulting helps to differentiate with several vendors like DataStax and Confluent, which are single technology vendors. Now, organizations, in our experience, have typically implement multiple technology as a solution. So we at Instacluster Consulting are not, as I call, the one-trick pony, but can help implement complex multi-tech solutions for our clients.
Fantastic. Thanks, Anil. That makes a lot of sense. And look, I think it's an incredibly important part of the business where, often service providers are, once organizations are at a happy state and going into production and need support, but often getting to that point is the hardest part, right? So getting experts on the ground can be a critical part in that overall puzzle.
One of the biggest reasons why people want to kind of use Instacluster Consulting or Instacluster in general is the access, availability, and retaining of expertise. So like the technical experts involved in data layer management are some of the most in-demand hires. Mm-hmm. They have among the lowest unemployment rates nationwide. Also, due to high demand, there is a high turnover rate with these experts. Mm-hmm. So organizations are finding it easier to outsource and alleviate the resource challenges using companies like Instacluster and using the expertise that the consulting brings along with that. So those are some of the reasons why people are looking into using these resources.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so I guess going to the flip side of that, Anil, what are some of the main arguments for why organizations would decide to insource their data technologies, operations, and skill sets?
So that's a good question. I think one of the key reasons that we have experienced is security and access management. Okay, like financial services or healthcare companies, they have legal obligations many times to host and manage their data in source. So that's one reason. Another reason we have seen is if you want to control over your data strategy. Sometimes a company may have a unique approach or specific priorities that may warrant an internal control of data strategy. So that's one reason. Another reason I have seen is like a kind of a cross-pollination of technical platform amongst internal teams. So basically, if a solution requires Apache Cassandra, say Apache Kafka, open source, or Postgres, the respective engineers can learn from each other. And when the company wants to cross-pollinate the internal teams, they try to insource. I think one of the most important reasons, which I believe people still use insource, is kind of a resistance to change by the leadership and fear of unknown. Okay, so data technology support some of the mission critical functionalities, for an organization, and many data leaders are not comfortable outsourcing such key function. So we do respect their caution, okay, but it's a bit misguided. Okay, at InstaCluster, we have over 300 customers providing better SLAs than many in-house deployments.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting one. I've talked with a lot of leading financial services companies, banks that have made a conscious shift towards open source technology first. So, migrations, transformation efforts off of technologies like Oracle, Microsoft SQL, traditional licensed software that's really hamstrings growth. And so a lot of these banks are now seeing themselves, a critical part of their differentiator is their technical capability. And where I've seen these conversations go is that one of the arguments for them around insourcing is that it is a core differentiator having those skills in-house. So therefore they do see value in hiring and retaining that kind of talent internally. But as you mentioned, there are lots of challenges with that model in terms of, resources in the market, what they demand from a pay perspective and a lot of other things. But what we're also finding within InstaCluster is that insourcing itself is not enough. When you have that strategy, that's great, but what you also need to do once you've made up your mind that you're going down insourcing is training and upskilling your staff. So if you're building your own center of excellence and you want to have your own open source capability, your own managed capability internally, it's building those tools, features, operational capability, standard operating procedures, all the kind of elements that come together to establish that proper in-house capability. And that's not easily done.
Completely agree. I think there are companies. In fact, at this moment, we are working with several large enterprise customers who use us as our support partners. So they are still in-source, okay. But because we have this diverse expertise in the multiple technologies, and we have these deployments, okay, that span across industries, okay, we have gained a knowledge, okay, that one particular company cannot acquire. The VP of customer success has a saying that we have seen it all, okay, like all the problems that we have seen it all, and that's very true, because one organization, one team supporting one solution will encounter issues, maybe particular issue once in a year or once in 18 months sometimes. But here, when we support 300 clients, okay, across multiple industries, we see these problems almost weekly, okay. Yeah. So, and we have workarounds, we have solutions for all this. So apart from just providing managed platform and support, we have this vast knowledge, okay, that companies who do not want to outsource for whatever reasons, for legal reasons, for technical reasons, they don't want to outsource, can still use our expertise, okay, yeah, as like a center of excellence, as you called it. Okay.
I guess, so from that side, I mean, what would you say, are a few of the key points around why an outsourced data model strategy or data management strategy makes so much sense?
So companies like InstaCluster have proved in the market that outsourcing is feasible, it's scalable, it's reliable, it's cost-effective, and easy to use while maintaining kind of 24/7 access to experts. Okay. So again, let's consider all these one by one. So managed service providers can almost always provide greater degree of reliability than solutions that are engineered in-house. Okay, I think InstaCluster offers 100% availability SLAs for Apache Cassandra and about 99.999% availability SLAs for Apache Kafka. Okay. You also get several advantages in terms of scalability. Okay. The time to deployment is significantly reduced, as one can spin up clusters in minutes. It is also easier to dynamically scale up or scale down your infrastructure for peaks and valleys of your business. So that's another reason. Outsourcing also provides upfront and ongoing cost savings. That's another reason people use outsourcing. So while open source software is free, hiring open source software experts and managing solutions on a day-to-day basis is incredibly expensive. Now, working with managed service providers incurs incurs no upfront cost. Okay, and the ongoing costs are also smaller and they're predictable. So that's another reason why people try to want to use outsourcing. I think another reason I would say is outsourcing also frees up internal resources for critical projects within organization. This is often not highlighted. Okay, so many of these customers can focus on innovation rather than day-to-day maintenance of proven technologies. They also have access to experts almost 24/7 who have experience managing clients and solutions. A challenge that an insourcing team may see once in a year is seen almost weekly basis, as our customer success VP has said many times. So these are some of the reasons why people would like to outsource rather than stay in-source.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, Anil. And these are, I guess, some of the considerations organizations are assessing when they're going out to market around, buy versus build, costs and benefits of each methodology. I think, each have their pros and cons, but I think, where the market is going and what we've seen within Instacluster is that more and more it just makes business and technical sense, time to market, economies of scale in terms of the access to expertise, the immediate access to advanced tooling, metrics, and things that just take so long to build internally. And then you've got, the staff risk, people leaving. There's a lot to be said for this overall equation. So I thank you very much for taking the time to outline some of those key considerations, Anil. It's been a pleasure to speak with you.
No problem. Thank you, Tim, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, mate.